You need to work backwards from the customer's problem or typical issue you want to solve, and then bit by bit, step by step, move towards the ideal solution which you have defined. So you need to define a metric, like an OKR, towards which you work, and then you can arrive at a better solution that does the job.
Yeah, so totally agree about finding the business case. I think the way I usually explain our customers like what's possible is like, if you can do something in a second, AI can do as well. There's a zebra on a picture, it's a zebra. There's a woman walking towards you, it's a woman. Like somebody asks a simple thing from keywords, whatever, you can recognize it. If it takes you already 10 seconds, then there's some synthesis going on here, and that is hard for machines. Because inherently, the algorithms are not like we have here. Like this is millions of years of evolution, algorithms are just a piece of silicon, right? So it's actually a huge jump, but we are really good at doing those 1 second tasks, and there's a ton of them in the world that people are doing that they shouldn't be doing. It's just super boring work and waste of time. So I think this is where the crossing the chasm is happening, but then do you intelligent reasoning? No. No. Like it's just like, will bots take all the work? Like no. Literally, like you talk to Siri, how is that even possible? It doesn't know like, you know, what the weather in Uganda right now is or whatever. So I think like we need to be realistic, but there are many automation tasks that are very, very simple, and machines are really good at stuff at scale at those simple things. So this is, I think, we're crossing the chasm first, and then the rest, the Terminator stuff, yeah, I don't know when that comes or if at all.
We cannot predict that yet.
No, I think
we don't have an algorithm to predict that. I like the fact that you're touching on the business impact as well, not only on the technological side and the organization. So let's go back to you, Thomas. I have seen recently this information about Snapchat and Amazon. That they're making a partnership on visual search. So basically when you're using the application, you can actually click on an object, on an image, and you will have a link on Amazon that is going to identify the products and so on and so forth. So really the capabilities are huge. So from an e-commerce and retail in general industry point of view, is AI going to be, let's say, a necessary condition, or is it going to be really a distinguishing factor?
I think it depends on how much competitive advantage you want to build. If you look at the giants like Amazon, they've been in the online industry for years, and they have set up certain standards to which others aspire. And the game in online, and basically in e-commerce, is about guessing the user's intention and then providing the product just in front of his or her eyes. So if you can shorten the path, if you can shorten the distance between you and the consumer, and making this user a consumer or a buyer of your products, the better it will be. If you can use AI for that, congratulations, yes, it will bring you ahead. If you have different methods, then it's going to be also okay, but it might be that using AI and using image recognition, you'll be better off than your.
And I think that's a very powerful notion, the fact that we're trying to enrich the experience, but then how does the organization adapt? What kind of changes do you need to do from a process point of view, from a talent point of view, from a cultural point of view, to be ready to work in that kind of context?
I think it sits mostly within two factors, that's technology and people. So technology, you need to have a certain technology, you need to have a certain investment, be it the cloud or being on-premise, but usually now people tend to do things in the cloud unless it's super secret and not, if you don't have any limitations restricted to data, retention and so on. So you need to be quite agile with the technologies you use, right? Be on the cutting edge of what is being developed. And then the other side is the people. So you need the right talent, which is very hard to recruit. If you want to get a data scientist working for you, or someone who knows ML as a machine learning engineer to implement those algorithms in production, it's going to be very hard. So you have the option to poach or chase those people in the market, or you can grow them. So it's an investment. It's always an investment. And then you also need people on the executive side, being able to understand what machine learning is able to do, how it works and what it does, those people need to know, I mean, they don't need to be that deeply into technical details. They need to know exactly how a classifier works. That's not the point. The point is to understand that it's not magic. The point is to understand that those are algorithms that work based on certain rules, and you have to feed it with high quality data in order to render a meaningful result. This is...
I think you have a great point, and feel free, both of you, to join the conversation if you want, have a point. But my question is really, I have a client, large pharmaceutical company. They hired a bunch of data scientists, and now they have a chief digital officer, and they're like, we're doing this. And then basically it's like market research, on steroids. So these guys analyze data, they tell them what they think is going to happen, and then they still look for the, So how do you convince those guys to listen to the data scientists, and how do you teach to the data scientists to actually speak a language that the business understands?
Okay, so just to, because I see you also want to cover that point. I think that your data scientist needs to have the domain knowledge, a bit of the domain knowledge, to be able to speak with business people from that particular domain, be it the pharmaceutical, be it retail, be it banking, insurance, whatever. Or you need to have someone who manages the relationship between the business and the data scientist and is able to translate things both ways. To give those people a vision, or to point them towards the North Star, towards where they should go in terms of exploration, because you can boil the ocean. If you get to a big set of data, you can run into various directions, you can really spend months analyzing things and coming up with something that is completely irrelevant or something that is already obvious for the industry. So you need people who have a lot of business acumen to govern the whole work in order to not derail it from the tracks.
So I'll elaborate on that. So I'll be talking with a telecom case, but there, before looking into any AI, the management set the goal that they want a certain % of all the customer service to be automated. That's it, certain percentage. And then the team went out to find how do we do it, right? And then we started building them a chatbot. But the whole key, the driving is that there is a certain percentage of all customer interactions each month that need to be automated. Do you do it with deep learning, machine learning, keyword-based, manual hacking? Doesn't matter as long as it's cost efficient and you achieve the KPI, right? And I think this is very important because when you hire a bunch of data scientists, they can do all kinds of stuff all day long, and it's very interesting. But at the end of the day, do you save money or do you make money? That's what you care about as a business. So I totally agree with the point that you first need to build a business case, and then you need to, if you can afford it and want to try it, go ahead, try out AI if they can produce that result. But do it so in short batches. I don't recommend 2-year-long projects. I recommend 3-4 month-long pilots. You can really easily see if something's promising to work or not, and then from there you can elaborate. And that's the way you can get to the solutions, to the actual business metric.
A practical example of how we can deal with cases where you consider to use machine learning or AI, but you're not sure whether it's going to work or not. So we had a particular problem to solve. Can't tell what it was, but we've spent around 4 weeks to gather and label the input data, the training data, to have a solid set in which we can play. And then we invited all the talents, all the machine learning data science talents, to run a hackathon throughout a day and a half. So it was a very small investment of time that has already rendered a proof of concept example based on that data, whether it could work or not. And this is the point where you can decide whether it makes sense to invest further in that and develop that to a fully productionized solution, or whether you should stop there, because it's not giving you what you expect. So it's a way to kind of experiment, find out if it works, but then learn fast and fail cheap.
Yeah, no, I think I like the learning part and the failing cheap part as well, because when they put all their chips and they go all in on these tech projects, danger, high voltage, really, we have a lot of troubles. But Indrek, a question for you, because you guys basically have a very interesting market, very specific technical solutions. So how do you really convince, beyond the initial, let's say, lack of confidence in the technology, and beyond the lack of, and the business case, of course you need the business case, but how do you really go about pitching those virtual assistants to...
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So we build chatbots for customer service automation, for banks and telcos, and also for sales enhancement. And usually what it starts out with companies is that, there is this sort of pressure on the market. Like Google is talking that AI is going to run the world, and then companies are waiting, looking at each other, what are competitors doing, somebody's doing something, and then one of them starts going. They just decide, let's just run with it, let's try it out, right? And then when one of them goes, the others see that that guy is going, maybe he's crazy, but maybe he's right. And if we don't act, then we're falling behind, right? So this peer pressure. And then others also start moving. And the way they think about it is that, in customer service, the ROI is clear, right? One, the bot is doing a certain percentage of human job. Two, you get less phone calls coming in from customers. And three, you can get some upsales from the bots. So that's actually pretty easy to measure. But I think one of the things that there's a tipping point in the AI projects where actually people whom you work with at the company, they see that it is working. Something's actually happening. That bot is doing something, and actually it's helpful, and I don't have to do it anymore, and then I can rely on it more. And then from that point of view, when more and more customer interactions are channeled into that channel with the virtual assistant, that the part that was before nice to have is becoming more and more critical. And then companies see that this actually is stable, we can rely on it, let's double down on it and let's just grow it, right? But it is a process and it takes time. I think it's sort of the companies that are embracing it now are the first movers, or they have this innate desire for innovation, and then they start doing projects. But once they see that it's working in some form, they want to double down on it. Because with a bot, yeah, he can do 1,000 conversations, but he can also do 10,000 or 100,000 in an hour or in a minute. Like, doesn't matter what your volume is. So the moment you hit something that works and you have a chance to scale it, then it becomes really, really powerful. And that, when it works, companies don't want to let go, because you're not going to replace humans. Like, you're going to have to replace 10 humans to do the thing that just one bot can do really well.
Yeah, I think it's quite funny, because I think, when we think about the threat of machines and AI and jobs, it's going to change a lot of things. I came through the airport in the UK this morning, and all of the passport people are just standing there because the machines are doing the passport control, and you can see them all standing going, my life is so easy now. And they haven't necessarily clicked that they won't be standing there potentially in 6 to 12 months' time, because the trust will be in the facial recognition that it will do the job.
Part of the Schumpeterian economics type of innovation we're looking into. It's really creative destruction, in the sense that you destroy the status quo, but then you create more powerful growth through different type of jobs. But it's a long discussion, but it's not really part of this. So I want to change a bit the topic. I mean, correlated, but when we talk about businesses, Indrek, we talk also about platforms, and there is now a growing number of platforms. Besides mobile, I can talk to my TV and do search through my TV, or soon I will have connected mirrors, and Alexa is now on the oven, in the refrigerator, and so on and so forth. So, with the growth of consumer IoT, how does this multi-platform reality impacts your type of investments or your type of development?
Yeah. So of course, all the big players, they have their own platforms, and rightly so. I think the sort of important thing to understand that what we are tackling is machine to human or human to machine interaction. how do machines actually comprehend us? The good thing is for us is nobody has solved it. Apple hasn't solved it, Amazon hasn't solved it, Facebook hasn't solved it. Like, you know, you talk to Siri, Alexa, they don't understand you all of the time, right? And why? Because understanding humans is really hard. Like, you know, I have difficulty understanding my wife at times, right? Like,
And I thought it was my Italian accent.
no, it's like, how can a machine always understand us? It's virtually not possible. So I think the voice to text and text to voice is separate, and that has been done by 95% accuracy. I think, you know, that is fine, but understanding human intent and meaning in conversational speech, because that hasn't been solved, like companies like ours can stay in business because there's no gold standard out there, and that technology is developing, but I think the jump in intelligence in machines we need is just so great that like we're not even halfway there. So there's plenty of work for everybody in this field to do.
I'll jump a bit further ahead though, because I think actually the bit that I'd be worried for is actually when machines are selling to machines, because I think that we will get to the point where, you know, and Amazon talks about, we are quite predictive beings. It's quite like, you know, if I'm going on holiday, I display certain behaviours, so a brand or can see that I'm going on holiday. And things like Amazon, Google Home and all these systems, you know, they're talking about getting people comfortable that it will order stuff for you. So you don't even ask for something. So it will see that you've got a night out coming up. It will order an outfit for you without you going to buy that outfit yourself. So then as a brand marketeer, you actually then start thinking about, okay, well, it's actually a machine that I'm selling to now. It's not a person. Okay, what are the key data points that it's using to make that decision? Is it price? Is it how long an item will last? Is it which celebrities are wearing it? And that, you know, and that is the journey that we're on from a sales perspective, is that the idea that, you know, it does it already. We have Alexa at home, and it will look at the shopping basket and work out when things are running out and be able to replenish goods, or tell me what I've got in my fridge, so then it can tell me, okay, this is what you should think about. This is what you can make for dinner. If you want to make something else, I can order you something else. Or you haven't got anything else, we can order something from Uber Eats. So the machine is actually trying, it's asking me now, but the idea is in 10, 50 years that it doesn't even ask me. I'll come home and it's already delivered, it's in the house, it's waiting for me. And we've seen it already, I think, I remember a while ago, one of the credit card companies did a talk, and they could predict a divorce, they reckoned, by someone's bank behaviour, in regards to how people started spending money, moving money, spending more on themselves and things like that. So we can actually predict what people are trying to do, but to your point, it's if we can make that prediction, what is the judgment we as people make to actually get something out of that prediction. But it will be an interesting time when someone's saying, okay, I need my machine to sell to their machine, and that's okay, what do I do then?
And I think one of the natural directions to which AI in the retail context gravitates is to make e-commerce understand the objects that we are looking.
I call actually that, from a brand marketer point of view, the extinction by algorithm kind of scenarios, because a lot of brands aren't ready for those decisions to be actually delegated. Because there are things which I care about and I want to purchase based on the brands I like and I care, but there are also things like, you know, I need the laundry detergent, you know, whatever that is, and I need it as often, and I don't want to, order it. So Alexa can do that for me, great, I mean, fantastic, and if it's delivered at home, terrific, I'll buy into it. I have a question for you on this, because you work with predictive analytics, and there is, you know, marketers now tend to be obsessed with content. We have AI developing content for marketers, edited in video, that's what you mentioned also earlier. How can you help bridge the disconnect of relevance between a marketer and a customer using AI?
Yeah, and I think again it comes down to what does someone want. So I can predict if someone should be your customer, and I can predict what will sort of drive them to become your customer. But I can also predict if they're in market now or not. So if someone is not thinking about a holiday now, pardon me, it's the time to start doing more brand messaging so they trust you. Because you've got to think about when you're making big purchases from your bank all the way through to travel, if I've never heard of you, I might be in market now for a flight. But if I see an ad for an airline I've never heard of, I'm probably still not going to buy, even though I'm in market. So it's being able to understand, okay, this consumer right now, where are they in my customer journey, and what is it I should be serving to them? So is it a brand message? Is it an emotive message? Is it a price-based message that's going to get them over the line? And this is going to get even better, like connected TVs. You know, it's going to be, I can start doing, you know, when people talk about video online versus video on TV, you know, TV still for us as consumers is an immersive experience. I trust you if you have a TV ad because I think it's expensive. And that's basically what most consumers think. If you can afford to advertise on TV, I can probably buy to you because you're not dodgy. So it's the ability then to start sort of advertising people on the full customer journey of brand messaging on the TV on a per household basis, and then as the behaviours start being distinguished that I'm in market for the product, is then start looking at the key drivers of that product. And also there's different types of people. There's people who buy for emotive reasons. So there's brands you like. I'm sure there's expensive brands you like, and there's no logical reason. Exactly. But then there's people who are just price sensitive, people who are just looking for the best price. And there's good money in the people who will buy from a brand point of view, and there's scale in the people who will buy from a price perspective. So it's having the ability to distinguish between those rather than wasting potentially brand dollars on price sensitive people and sending price for people who just buy from a brand.
Final thoughts. I think one thing we didn't cover, I guess, is the key barriers when it comes to implementing AI. And I would say that the biggest that I observe is actually fear. People being afraid of using it, or people being afraid of getting immersed into that, having this whole Terminator scheme behind their head, in the back of their head. But the thing is, we should not be afraid. It's a change because it shifts you from a rule-based assessment towards a more probabilistic assessment, where the machine can be wrong, and you have to compensate for that using people. But that's also an opportunity because you can, as you said, you can move people away from doing the boring stuff towards more added value and making sure that this customer experience is better enhanced with an AI and moves to a better direction.
Yeah, I don't even know where this sort of Terminator stuff came. It was like Elon Musk tweeting something and then the world went crazy and like started being afraid of AI. Like I think from a very practical point of view, like those in the audience, like if you have a business case and you know you think that this is something that you want to do a pilot or like, you know, whether it's images or text or whatever, just like try it out. You know, you have a smart guys in organization, your vendors, try something out, very simple, and see how it works for yourself, because there's no magic in AI. Like you said, it's just probabilities. And, you know, the better you put the algorithms together, the better data you have, the higher the probabilities go. But that's it. It's just probabilities. It's not magic. So my best guess is like, if you've ever thought of doing it, just do something. And you'll be much more wiser than just, you know, observing and thinking, what if.